Good morning. Please find your seats and prepare for this morning's service. For those here in the sanctuary, I would like to remind you that this service is being streamed on YouTube. For those that are watching this service on YouTube, we are glad to have you watching, but would rather, of course, have you be here with us in person. Let me remind you to read the announcements printed in your order of service. Also, especially to be sure to read the weekly events that are emailed to you each Thursday, as well as the unigram on the website. I urge you to keep our website open as a tab on your internet browser so you can keep up with what is happening. Also remember that although we are not in quarantine, we must practice social distancing and mask wearing per guidelines of the posted signs and reopening statement that you have read many times. Our resident health expert is Dr. Emilio Jose Perez, and he reminds us that the number of COVID cases is increasing and expected to increase even more. So do not take any chances. We do not want to lose you or your loved ones. And now let us center ourselves for today's service and remember to silence all electronic devices as Kevin plays the prelude. Thank you, Kevin. Please stand and join me in the congregational covenant as found in your order of service. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve others in community. Thus do we covenant with one another. Thank you. Please be seated. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Columbia. My name is Laura, and I am your service leader for today. Our minister is Reverend Stephen Robinson, and those Sundays where Stephen is not in the pulpit, we present a variety of qualified and interesting speakers from this congregation or from recognized guests from the wider community. So you have to keep returning and see what exciting service we have next. Unitarian Universalism is a diverse and non-creedal religion. We are a covenantal religion, which means we do not have to believe the same in order to treat each other the same, with respect, equity, compassion, and dignity. Our community is based on deeds, not creeds. As Unitarian Universalists, we side with love, embracing all people regardless of age, color, race, social economic status, physical ability, or religious background. We are a welcoming congregation, which means we also embrace LGBTQ individuals. We encourage everyone to wear name tags so that we may know each other better. Board members wear green name tags, and they always welcome your comments, questions, and suggestions. Would the members of our Board of Trustees please stand now so that they can be recognized? Thank you. Please be seated. At this time, we would like to recognize any guests or visitors who are with us today. If you are willing and able, please rise and share with us your name and where you are from. Please, and if you have guests with you, please feel free to introduce them. Please wait until Reverend Stephen brings the microphone to you. Nobody?
We're all home folks here.
Thank you. When we are further along in our recovery, we will take the time to greet each other, and I will tell you that you are all welcome to stay and continue your conversations and enjoy refreshments in the social hall. But until then, just look forward to when that day comes. Today's challenge leader is Richard Culler. Richard has been a Unitarian Universalist for 30 years and has been a member of the UUCC for 9. In his day job, he is an environmental engineer and a project manager for CDM Smith, specializing in utility relocations within highway projects. He and his wife Susan have been married for 20 years and have 2 grown children, Aaron and Laura. Thank you. Thank you.
Great job, Laura. You act like you knew him a little. It's always good to introduce your dad and have the mic where you can say anything you want to about him, right? That's a good time. So thank you for being here today. And for those who are watching us on YouTube, we thank you for joining us for the service. And at this time, we just unite ourselves together as one community, whether in person or streaming on YouTube, for this time of worship. Our opening words today are a little different than what's actually in the program. I'm going to read a different poem named Mimesis by Fadi Yuda. Fadi Yuda is a Muslim Palestinian American physician, poet, and translator. He was born in Austin, Texas, and that he wasn't expecting that, right? Born in Austin, Texas, and grew up in Libya and Saudi Arabia. Educated at the University of Georgia and the Medical College of Georgia and the University of Texas Health Sciences in Houston. In 2002 and 2005, he worked with Doctors Without Borders in Zambia and Sudan, respectively. He has debuted his poetry in 2007 with a book of poetry called The Earth in the Attic. And beautiful poet, writes from many times a Muslim perspective, but also interweaves sciences and his medical knowledge into his poetry. I decided to shift and use his poem today just because of how it connects to the work of what we're doing today of recognizing the Muslim New Year and what it means. And as we'll learn a little bit later, the pilgrimage of Muhammad, as Kevin so beautifully sang about just a few minutes ago, the road to freedom. But listen to the words of Mimesis by Fadi Yuda. My daughter wouldn't hurt a spider that had nested between her bicycle handles for 2 weeks. She waited until it left of its own accord. If you tear down the web, I said, it will simply know this isn't a place to call home, and you get to go biking. And she said, that's how others become refugees, isn't it? This time we create a time in our service for Candles of Community. And if you would like to light a candle and share briefly a joy or concern that you would like to hold in this congregation, or if you're watching on our streaming YouTube and would like to share a candle, you can let us know by getting that candle to us, Andrea or myself, by Friday, and we will light a candle and read that. Or you can pick up a candle in the vestibule and light it during the service. At this time, I invite you, if you have a candle and like to light that, to please come forward.
Hello, it's me again. I just want to light this for Nick and myself, and thank you all for your ongoing support and help and love, and please let it continue. Thank you.
Richard McLeod asked me to light a candle. Linda, his wife Linda, had surgery on Tuesday and is recovering, and just asked that we keep them in our thoughts, that she is ready to get back and going, and body's not cooperating yet. And Richard's not cooperating with that either, is what he told me. And then we light a final candle today for those joys and concerns that we hold close in our hearts and not necessarily sharing out loud in this community. Please join me in a time of silence. Remember what you've heard, what you felt, and hold these thoughts and pour your love and energy to the ones that we've named today. Thank you. As we prepare for our offering today, this is a reminder that our Share the Plate recipient is the Palmetto Place Children and Youth Services that look to providing a safe and nurturing environment for abused and neglected children and teens in our community. And we definitely enjoy the opportunity to support this great work, and we'll have a guest speaker at the end of the month come and share a little bit more about their good work. This time I invite our ushers to come and receive our morning offering. Recognize that without so many different elements of our service, we kind of move it through it really quickly. Like we're already at the sermon, and the sigh of dread comes over the audience. So this is a good time to remind you that if there are any children and adults that would like some extended recreation time on the playground, Mackenzie is going to be out there. So Mackenzie's in the back and waving. And it's also a good reminder that if you're interested in helping with the RE program that begins in just a couple of weeks, there's a sign-up table on the back of the social hall where you can sign up for being a volunteer for our RE program. Tomorrow marks the beginning of the new year in the Muslim tradition. It is August 9th and begins at sundown, a celebration of this new year. It is different every year because the calendar that it's based on is the lunar calendar and not the Gregorian calendar, and this year it falls on this second week in August. One of the things that is celebrated, and really the focus of the new year and the Islamic New Year, is the celebration and commemoration of Muhammad's exile, move from Mecca to Medina. In Mecca, where he was born in the late 6th century, the place that had been established by the father of Judaism, Abraham, had basically been overcome by a group of local indigenous religious group that considered themselves polytheistic, and Muhammad experienced a vision, as he told it, of Gabriel in a cave while he was meditating, and was called himself back to Unitarianism. I'm using that word kind of loosely this morning. Monotheism is really what he was called back to, not to get that confused. But he was basically also called to submit to the authority of God. And that is what the word and the languages of Islam began to develop out of that experience in that cave. As he and his followers developed and devoting themselves to the life and the work of what it meant to serve God in their time and their day and their age, eventually their following, their beliefs came under great scrutiny and eventually great persecution. Many of them were imprisoned or wounded, and their lives were threatened. And ultimately, Muhammad's life was threatened with a threat of an assassination. And it is at that point in the 7th century, the beginning of the 7th century, that Muhammad and his followers decided to leave his birthplace of Mecca and go to a place where they could find safety and freedom for themselves. So this is not just the first day of the month of Muharram. It is the celebration of that move from Mecca to Medina. It is an important observation for many Muslims around the world, second only to Ramadan in its holy significance on the calendar. The 10th day is almost a commemoration of Noah leaving the ark or Moses crossing the Red Sea. It's a time of leaving and finding safety and freedom. And one of the things that I celebrate about the story is not only did Muhammad and his followers leave Mecca and settle in Medina and create a safe place for themselves for life and for worship and for spiritual growth, but they also created a constitution in that area that protected the Muslim community, the growing Muslim community at the time, and protected them from persecution and gave them rights and freedoms. So it wasn't just an escape, it was an establishment of safety and freedom for themselves. So why is this important? Why would we take time here at the UUCC in Columbia, South Carolina, to recognize the Muslim New Year and the heart of the story of Muhammad and his followers leaving? Did you know that Muslims comprise about a fourth of the world's population? 24% of the current population identify as Muslim, which means tomorrow 24% of the world's population will be celebrating this new year and this goal of creating safety and freedom for themselves in the year ahead of them. It's all about freedom to worship. It's all about freedom to search for truth and meaning in your own way. That should sound familiar, at least, if nothing else. Because they believed in a single God and not this pantheon of multiple gods, they persevered, they grew, they established themselves, and they fought with a desire for freedom, for universal freedom for all Muslims. It is a holy time that is faithful. Nobody can go wrong in speaking of reverence and feeling a solemnity for this day, this very special day for them on the calendar. And so we celebrate it. We join our arms and link with those in the community who are a religion of peace, a religion of freedom, and a religion of safety. For me, in looking at this today, I thought about what it means to leave a birthplace. We often think about the fight over Mecca and how different people groups are wanting a piece of that experience, the pilgrimages that go back to Mecca. And I think about what it must have felt like as a prophet and followers to leave a hometown and know that it wasn't safe there anymore, that you had to create a place of freedom and safety for yourself. You have to take the responsibility for freedom and safety for yourself. Looking back at the story, Muhammad's mother died when he was very young, so his sense of freedom and safety had been put in check many years before even adulthood and visions of Gabriel and the presentation of the Quran in the cave. Freedom and safety. How in the world do we create both of those things for ourselves in our day and age? We might say, well, those things are guaranteed to us with our Constitution of the United States. How do we really create freedom and safety and balance those two things together? We are debating it very widely across our country these days because words like mask mandates, mandatory vaccinations are being experienced as, on one side of the argument, as threats to freedom. On the other side of the argument, threats to safety. And so we have to ask ourselves the question in this day and age, how do we create both freedom and safety for ourselves? Oftentimes, Benjamin Franklin's quote is thrown around for those who are wanting to make sure that liberty transcends all other rights. As he said, those who give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty or safety. A quote completely out of context, but nonetheless, when it's on the front of a t-shirt, it really sends a message. Walking around the zoo yesterday, I saw a t-shirt that had both that phrase on it and another t-shirt that said, I have a right to be free and no one can infringe on that. Was that up for debate? Are you sure no one can infringe on your complete freedom? Now, I didn't have conversations with these t-shirts that were walking around us. And I'm not wearing a t-shirt that says anything representing the contrary message. Just want to be at the zoo. But how do we somehow balance the need for freedom and the need for safety in our lives? H.L. Mencken says that the average man really does not want to be free. He just simply wants to be safe. And I think that might be true as well. The great psychologist Abraham Maslow identified a hierarchy of needs that we have in the human experience. And at the very bottom of the pyramid, you've probably seen that represented as a pyramid before. At the very bottom of the pyramid are the basic needs that we need: food, clothing, shelter, or at least food and shelter. And right above those basic physiological needs, Maslow puts safety needs as the next thing that we have to have before, in his understanding, we can progress any further in our goal toward self-actualization, enlightenment, however we describe it. So right above just the essence of physical survival is safety. And Maslow didn't just mean running from any kind of predator that's out there that's inherent in our DNA, that fight or flight mentality when we feel threatened. But it is that sense of freedom and safety that we need in order to thrive and grow. So how in the world can we have the courage and the creativity to choose both. Freedom is defined as the power or the right to act, to speak, or to think as one wants without hindrance or restraint. In other words, freedom is a power that's passed down to people, sometimes from local or national governments. On the other hand, safety is defined as the condition of being protected from or unlikely to cause danger, risk, or injury. Now, it's interesting that these definitions somehow overlap in various places, but often are juxtaposed against each other as if one can exist and the other cannot. But you and I have to choose freedom and safety. Isn't that inherent in our fourth principle, both freedom and safety, that we have a free and responsible search for truth and meaning? We like the free part. Sometimes we don't like the responsible part, but we're supposed to be holding both in tension. When I lived in the Atlanta area, I had a friend who ran a skydiving business and would often try to get me to go and skydive, which I'm terrified of. Has anybody ever been skydiving? All right, you're still here, so maybe there's a chance. Alvin, really? Skydiving, my goodness, all right. Was Figgy with you? No, all right, that's good. Figgy should have a choice, right? But often when we'd have the conversation, one of the things I would say to him is, can you guarantee that I'm gonna go home the next day? Can you guarantee my safety? And he's like, no, I can't guarantee your safety. Well then, that settles it for me. But he would often say, man, until you jump out of a plane, and especially before the parachute engages, you will never know the sense of freedom that you feel. I thought, I'm okay with that. Some things I just am willing to not experience. But he would tell me that so many clients would come to him, so many potential customers, and ask the exact same question: can you guarantee my safety? And think of the absurdity of that. You're jumping out of an airplane and pretending to fly. What? We can't guarantee your safety when you get in a car and drive down the road, when you walk down the road. We can't guarantee your safety sitting in this building this morning, as much as we are absolutely trying to. We cannot guarantee your safety, but to jump out of a plane, can you guarantee my safety? He would often tell me that he would get so frustrated with that question from folks and the naivety of, yes, you're jumping out of a plane and I can guarantee your safety. They would often tell them, absolutely, and it comes with a double your money back guarantee. So how in the world can we let go of thinking that we have a guarantee for our safety? We can make things as safe as possible, but we cannot be guaranteed safety. And in the same way, we have freedom, as much freedom as possible, but it comes with limitations as well. And we are in a time that we need to be the leaders of conversation of how we balance both being a free society and a safe society, a smart society, as we engage our culture. How do I create safety beyond just the cultural conversations? How do I create safety for myself? Was the question that Muhammad wrestled with. How in my relationships with the people that were my family, that are my community, how do I create safety for myself? Not just in the culture as a whole, but many of us have to create safety for ourselves in our lives because our work environment is not safe, because our family life is not safe, because our school doesn't feel safe, because our conversations with ourselves do not feel safe. So how do we create safe experiences in our relationships for ourselves and for those around us? I think Brené Brown is a great leading voice in understanding relationships and how to be brave and smart at the same time in our culture. And one of the things that she really outlines in the concept of braving our culture is the anatomy of trust. Listen to some of the words. I know these won't be becoming our official source documents or one of our principles or a new principle, but listen to these beautiful anatomy, the components of the anatomy of trust by Brene Brown. They sound so connected to the work that we do here at the UUCC. One of the anatomy of trust in building a safe place for yourself is boundaries, where she says, I trust you if you are clear about your boundaries. I love it when trust comes with an if. That means it's real. I don't just trust you blindly. I trust you if you are clear about your boundaries and you hold them, and you're clear about my boundaries and you respect them. Another piece of the anatomy is reliability. You do what you say you're going to do. We have to be very clear on our limitations, that we don't take on so much that we come up short and don't deliver on our commitments. Another piece of the anatomy is accountability. I can only trust you if when you make a mistake, you're willing to own it, apologize, and make amends. I can only trust you if when I make a mistake, that I don't have to do those. No, I'm sorry. I can only trust you if when I make a mistake, I am allowed to do the same thing. Another piece of the anatomy is the vault. What I share with you, you will hold in confidence and post on Facebook regularly. I'm editing Brene Brown's work a little bit. But think about that in our culture where so much is public knowledge. What I share with you, I trust that you will hold in confidence. And you do not share things with me that are not yours to share, because then my trust in you is diminished. Not if you just share my information, but if you're sharing things with me that don't need to be shared. Integrity, choosing courage over comfort, choosing what's right over what's fun or exciting, fast and easy, practicing your values, not just professing your values. We are moving to a time and an age where taking this virus seriously in Columbia, South Carolina moves us to the minority. And so it is calling us to our integrity, to choose courage over comfort, to choose what's right over what's easy, to not just practice, or not just profess our values, but practice them. And a couple more pieces of the anatomy. Non-judgment, which means I can fall apart, ask for help, and be in struggle without being judged by you, and you can do the same with me. Beautiful relationships, safe relationships. And then lastly, generosity. Our relationship is only a trusting relationship if you can assume the most generous thing about my words, intentions, and behaviors. And then, if you are wondering, check in with me. We need relationships that are safe in our lives, in our work, in our family, in our schools, within ourselves. We need safe spaces that it is our responsibility to create in our lives. The UUCC is a safe place to find support, find relationships where this anatomy can be practiced on a daily basis, and practice the art of creating safe spaces for ourselves. Our freedom is given to us so that we can create our own safety. That is the beauty of being adults, being awake, being people of integrity. May we be inspired by Muhammad and his followers and the celebration that will take place tomorrow in creating safe spaces for ourselves.
Building a New Way by Martha Sandifer. It's actually in our teal hymnal, but until we can sing it together in freedom and safety, the number doesn't matter. are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free of hate and greed and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We just start with love, 'cause that's the seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom, that's our cry. Peace and freedom, now that's our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry, 'cause without these, this world will die. Peace and freedom is our, now that's our cry.
Thank you, Kevin, for being our guest musician today, as Anna is taking some great time off, and for Richard doing last week. I always feel like when Kevin's doing our music that we need a smoke machine and turn the lights down a little bit to really set the mood in the space. But thank you, Kevin. It's just beautiful. And I heard Kevin practicing our benediction just before the service, so I know that's coming up, a version of that as well. And as we extinguish our chalice today and leave this place, we know that we are leaving a place where we feel safe in this community, both physically and all the work that we are doing to maintain safety, but also relationally, psychologically, spiritually, we feel safe in this space, and it is our goal to continue and maintain that safety and use our freedom to do so. So as we leave this place and extinguish our chalice, know that it is your job to create safe spaces for yourself wherever you go.
May the blessings of truth be upon us. May the power of love direct us. And may the peace of this community sustain us till we meet again.
Thank you, Kevin. This concludes our service. We thank you for those that were watching on our streaming on YouTube. I invite you to join us again next week. We celebrate the ability to still socialize as long as we do it outside. So we invite you at this time as we wrap up our service, if you would like some social time, you can gather outside for that.